forget to do that. I'm going to lead off the show by reminding you, got a little November giveaway here, and I've posted what the giveaway is on weekendappointment.com. It involves, let's see, $250, about $400 worth of stuff. And I'm not going to tell you what it is because you've got to go to weekendappointment.com, go to the announcements section, and you can see what's there. You got to be a registered user, and there's a little bit of rules and regulations, of course, there, and any unclaimed prizes will be claimed by me. Go to weekendappointment.com to learn more about our November giveaway, which will happen on November 14th. You got to be a registered user by November 14th at 4 p.m., and, of course, you'll learn how you can find out what you won. So go to weekendappointment.com to do that. Let's see. We've already got some callers here, 540-0580. This is Carl Rominger, attorney here in the Mid-State, answering your legal questions. Chuck, you're on the air.
Hello, Carl.
Yeah, Chuck, what's going on?
Yeah, good to talk to you. Love your show. My daughter got married 16 months ago, a little over a year ago in August, to a gentleman who turned out to not be such a gentleman. There was infidelity even on the honeymoon. He basically padlocked their apartment and kicked her out. He's driving a vehicle right now that's in both their names, and he hasn't made any vehicle payments for like the past 4 months. So it's in repossession. Since my daughter's name is on it, I was wondering what we can do about that. Also, she wants to change her name. She was married in the Catholic Church. Mm-hmm. And as far as I know, she can get an annulment of the marriage. But there's also been destruction of personal property. I mean, after he padlocked their apartment, he basically threw out all of her belongings. So I guess my question to you is, as her father, I'm going to be paying for her divorce. I wanted to know what my options were as far as a speedy divorce, a way to get her name changed back that would be inexpensive, what her rights are as the wife here.
Okay.
Any advice you can give me?
Well, first of all, let me just deal with the name change real quick. A woman can change back to her maiden name or previous married name in a divorce very simply because at the end of the divorce, we simply file a piece of paper that allows you to resume the former name. Okay. And it's very easy to do in the context of the divorce. Some counties have a small filing fee, $10, $15 for that additional little precipice, but it's not a big deal once the divorce is final.
That's great.
Now, that was the easy part. As for a quick divorce, in Pennsylvania, when the divorce laws were put in place, people were very concerned that people would just get divorced willy-nilly for no reason at all. So we created a 90-day waiting period from the time of the service of the divorce papers.
Okay.
So from the time you file and get the other side served, you've got to wait at least 90 days. If they will consent, then the divorce can go through rather rapidly. If they will not consent, they can hold it up for up to 2 years before you can get the divorce without their consent. And, of course, you never want to enter a divorce decree without making sure all the property issues are tied up. Right. If he makes more money than she does, and I don't know if he does or doesn't.
No, he's unemployed. He's the only one working.
Okay. So spousal support's probably not going to be an option for her. Right. But she could take provisions to get him bumped out of the apartment if she wanted back in there. Mm-hmm. She could get provisions to have all the marital debts split up appropriately. Now, if her name's on a car that he's not paying for, that is going to hurt her credit.
Right.
A judge might force the sale of the car to prevent that. But again, these are all things that would have to be handled on a case-by-case basis. Usually, someone in her situation, we would want to move rapidly to start the divorce proceedings and see if we can reach an amicable property resolution. And if we can't, then you've got to move quickly, either through the divorce master process, which never goes quickly, or special petitions for relief. Unfortunately, each time you do a special relief petition, you have to go into court, and that takes attorney time and attorney hours. So you have to pick carefully through what's economical in the total context of the divorce. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Now, my other question is, there are drugs involved in this. It turns out he's a drug dealer. He may even be making drugs in their former apartment. I'm just worried about her implications as him being her husband. Is there any way for her to protect herself?
Yeah, I mean, she can do that. First of all, filing a divorce paperwork is a very good way to make it clear to the entire world that you're intending to separate yourself from this individual.
Okay.
The other thing is, it might behoove her to call this to law enforcement's attention, depending on how that might affect their economic situation. I mean, sometimes I have spouses who are like, he's doing something illegal or she's doing something illegal. I'm going to turn them in. I say, well, how are they gonna pay the support or do these things? You don't have to promote it, but you also don't want to deep six them until after you've got the property settlement in place or I'm not suggesting you should ever take ill-gotten gains. I'm just trying to point out that if the person's in jail, they're not going to pay their spousal support or their alimony payment.
Yeah, I think right now, Carl, she just wants to get out of this relationship, get as far away from him as she can. She's a real mild-mannered person, and she's not the kind of person who would go and turn someone in for whatever they're doing.
But she needs to file the divorce, then just make it clear to anybody that she doesn't want to be associated with any of the doings of this individual.
Okay. Well, that sounds great.
All right, Chuck.
Thanks for all your help and love your show. Keep up the great work, Carl.
All right, and if you want to get a hold of me through Weekend Appointment, feel free, Chuck.
All right, thank you.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
540-0580, 540-0580, that's the talk line number. Barbara, you're on WHP 580 with attorney Carl Rominger. Barbara.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, hi. Yes, I have a question. I've been divorced for quite a while, but I was married for 22 years. And I was wondering, I've been asking this question. My ex-husband, now I know I don't get any of his Social Security, I get my own, but he had worked at TMI, and I do think pretty sure he gets a check from them. Now, am I entitled to any of that?
You're currently married?
I'm not married at all now. I'm divorced.
You're divorced. Well, was that provided for in the divorce settlement?
No, because at the time he was still working for them, and he never showed me any papers or even told me about it when he did start to collect it. And I don't know if I'm entitled to it or anything because there was nothing in the divorce about it.
Right. Usually if there's a retirement or pension out there or will be one, it has to be handled at the time the divorce decree is entered. If you were represented by counsel, they should have helped you with that.
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
But, I mean, at the time he was still working. We were both still, like, in our 40s. And
right.
When he retired, then I understood he was getting a check from them every month.
Right.
And, I know he gets a pension.
And that's what I'm saying. We would have, as part of a divorce, we would have looked forward and said he's going to receive a pension or some other kind of retirement-style benefit. We would have calculated what portion of that was in the marriage, and we would use something called the coverture fraction. And then we would have put together an order that would have gotten you automatically a portion of that. You probably waived your right to go after that when you agreed to the divorce without a property settlement.
Well, see, I didn't know at the time, what was going on. He never let me know anything anyhow. So.
Yeah, did you just sign paper? You just brought your papers and you signed them?
Yeah, just the divorce papers. That's all it was.
Right. Yeah, Barbara, you probably waived your rights. You might want to get in and see another attorney, but I would tell you my inclination is if you agree to a divorce, folks, without understanding what all the property is or without a comprehensive property settlement, agreeing to the decree and divorce, you may not be able to reopen that. Then again, maybe there was some fraud involved or duress, and you might be able to. But Barbara,
because, there was nothing about no property, anything in a divorce.
Right, but you got to raise that. As a litigant in a divorce, as a person in a divorce, you got to raise that, Barbara.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
I'd advise you to see one more attorney just to be sure I'm right here and there's not some fact I'm missing in the brief on-air interview we're doing, okay?
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I can find some details. But, folks, if you sign the divorce papers and it doesn't include a disposition of property, the courts assume that you took care of everything, and when you agree to the entry of the decree, you don't retain any power in the court to sort those things out. And if your name ain't on it, it ain't on it. I got to go to break here, but when I come back from the break, it's 540-0580. 540-0580, that's the talk line number. Attorney Carl Rominger here answering your legal questions on the air. And I've got a full plate of callers here, but keep trying to get through, folks, if you want. 540-0580, and I'll keep taking you as you come. Dave, you're on WHP 580.
Yeah, hi, Carl.
Hey, what's going on?
I have a question for you that I'm a landlord, and my tenant recently had Fios, which is high-speed internet, installed on the property, and cable TV, which I gave them permission to do if they routed the cable internally, which they could have done. And what happened is the cable company came over and routed it externally to the house and came up the front of the house. I have yellow siding, and they came up with their black wires up the front of the house, which they probably wouldn't do with their own house. So the cable company's position or the Fios company's position is that, hey, they got permission from me through the tenant, and they don't feel obligated to reroute it or fix the damage they caused to the home.
The permission you gave, was it in writing?
No.
Did you?
I actually, the tenant called me to see if they could run it out external to the house.
Right.
And I never returned their call till the next day. But by the time I returned their call, they already had it installed.
They had it installed
to the house.
Huh. Well, it doesn't sound like they had your permission.
No, they didn't have my permission for external installation.
And I know generally the cable company, the phone company, those guys know they got to have the building owner's permission, not the tenant's permission. So
yeah.
I think you take them to small claims court.
But who do I go after? I mean, what name do I put on the lawsuit?
Was it Verizon?
It was Fios. It's a subsidiary of Verizon.
Yeah,
so it's a huge company.
Yeah, you sue them.
So do I actually put a company's name?
Oh yeah. You better figure out exactly who you want to sue. I just go online and figure out exactly who Fios is, what subsidiary, the right corporate name, and then sue the parent company while you're at it. Let the court sort it out.
Okay, and basically, I would just need an address and the company's name, not a specific person's name.
Right. You're suing the company itself. They're doing business in Pennsylvania. They're a company. You can sue the corporate entity.
Okay.
All right.
All right, Carl. Well, thank you very much.
All right, go get him, dude.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see here. Who's next? Alan, you're on WHP 580.
Hello. Hey, Carl, I got a question for you regarding a startup business.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm starting a small business. It's going to be a sole proprietary. I've got the fictitious name filed with the state. I've got my tax certificate, my sales tax exemption form. Do I need to file anything with the federal government, to the IRS?
You should have a taxpayer identification number, EIN or TIN, or you can use your own Social Security number. But you're
just using my own Social Security number. I'm not going to worry about getting a corporation or a LLC or anything like that. I'm just going to do.
Yeah. I would tell you, yes, you might have to. I know you're going to have to, at least on your next tax return, do a Schedule C. But This is the part of the show where I tell you it's time to call the CPA.
Okay.
Because they're going to tell you what you need to do in terms of related tax filings.
Okay. I do know that going non-corporation or anything like that, I will subject my own personal liability for stuff.
That's correct.
I get sued, they can take my house, but, you know.
Well, I just met with a guy not too long ago, and we talked about it, and I said, basically, you're what we call judgment proof, so don't spend a lot of money on fancy corporate entities. Down the road, if you start to make some money and accumulate some assets, then we'll worry about that.
Right. It's just I don't have much assets. I do have $1 million umbrella liability insurance for my car and my home, so I figured that would be enough to. And
remind all our other listeners, liability insurance, good insurance on everything you do is a great idea.
Yeah, I mean it only costs actually $100 a month, $100 a year for $1 million. You know,
right.
Nothing wrong with that.
Right. And remember, if you're using your vehicle for work, make sure you get a commercial vehicle policy as well.
Commercial what? I'm sorry?
Commercial vehicle policy. In other words, if you've got a truck you use for work, and they're much more expensive, but you'll run into coverage issues later on if you don't have a commercial coverage policy. All right?
Okay, so for example, if I'm a landscaper, I'm driving down Harrisburg Pike and I back into somebody, that's covered.
Good.
Okay, I appreciate it.
All right, my friend. Good luck.
Thank you.
I always ask the CPA the tax questions. They're the guys that know that stuff. I'm just a lawyer. Joanne, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger.
Hi. I wanted to ask a quick question. My oldest daughter moved back home. She's like 44. And if she gets into any trouble, any car, whatever, and she gets sued, because she lives with me, can they do anything to me, my house?
No.
They can.
They cannot. They cannot.
Oh, they cannot.
We are not responsible for the sins of our children or our parents, unless, of course, let me give you the only way this could happen. Let's assume she's drunk as a skunk and she asks to borrow your car. And you say, okay, well, that would be negligence on your behalf because you gave your keys to a drunk person. So you'd have to commit an act of negligence to become responsible for her negligence. And to become responsible for her debts or incurred debts, you'd have to agree and sign on board. So you're fine.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. By the way, I'm going to take some more callers here. It's 540-0580. Don't forget, November 14th, you got to be a registered member at weekendappointment.com to get into our $400 giveaway. That's going to be 30 prizes worth $400. Lots of good prizes. But I've listed them on the announcement section at weekendappointment.com, so you got to go there to learn more about them if you want. And, of course, post your legal questions throughout the week. I did have one guy on there I want to take issue with. He heard me on Durgan, and he wanted to know why I was talking about felons getting their guns back, and he said they can't even vote. He said, I wonder what felons are allowed to vote, much less buy a gun. The answer is in Pennsylvania, felons can vote, and I've posted the state summary of the law of voting and how it applies to people with felonies. But generally, once you're out of jail with a felony in Pennsylvania, you can vote. So long and short of it, you can see that at the bottom in the political discussions. Felons can vote. And by the way, I've been trying to remind people, if you had more than one DUI in the last couple of years and you got an M1 and you lost your ability to own guns, you may be able to undo it. I've got a few people coming in already who we're gonna restore their gun rights. It's possible that the sentences that were put in were illegal and the laws changed. So we're going to give that a try, but keep that in mind. If you've lost your gun rights because of multiple DUIs in the last couple of years, you should be talking with a lawyer as soon as possible because the ability to undo that may sunset soon. Jim, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger.
Yeah, this is Jim.
Yeah, Jim, what's going on?
I got a weird one here. I've been in business 43 years, and I signed a contract to do a job, and the man agreed to it, and it was tree removal. And we went out there. It was an emergency tree call. We went out there and did everything, and I wrote everything up on the proposal, and he signed it. And I was going out to finish the job the next day, and he said, well, just hold off. I want to hear about from the insurance company. Well, in the interim, he's getting other people to do the work after I have a signed contract, and started the job and did all the hard work and the dangerous work. And he says he's allowed to break the contract. I don't understand. I never ran into anything like this in my life. Never checked with me, said anything about hiring anybody else or anything, and he just went ahead and getting somebody else to do the work.
Interesting. Well,
I don't understand that. Very interesting. I never had anything like this in my life.
The short answer is you're entitled to complete the work and complete the contract to make your profit. So you can sue him for your lost profit. Unless he's got some valid provision to break the contract. So I'll give you an example. Let's say the contract says you got to be done by the 10th of November and you're not done by the 10th of November. He might be able to say, well, you've breached the contract, so I'm bringing somebody else in. You dropped a tree on his car. Well, okay, maybe you didn't do it in a safe enough manner and he can breach the contract. But if you just got an agreement and you're supposed to haul some trees away and you got a reasonable period of time to do it, and you're working away on it, he wants to hire somebody else because he found a better price, that's too bad. He's got a contract and an agreement.
That's what I thought. In other words, I tried to go over the very next day. We have log loaders and stuff, pick the stuff. We have equipment, to pick the stuff over the fence, and, we have equipment to do the job. And he said, oh, no, just hold off. I want to hear from the insurance company. In the meantime, he pays another guy $500 he says he paid the guy $500 to take the wood away.
How much more are you owed?
The whole contract was like $5,000, and he went and hired somebody to do $500 worth of work. And there was a stump that had to be taken out, ground out with topsoil and all that stuff. And he's going to get somebody to do that. I just never ran into anything like this on a signed contract in 43 years of business. And I just thought maybe you might have some insight on that.
Yeah, now it sounds like he decided he wasn't happy with the contract, and if he's not following, he's maybe misunderstanding his position. You're the one doing all the work, and he's the one paying the money, but that's what he agreed to. And he can't just turn that off like a faucet without legal consequence. So sue him.
No, there was no damage. Everything came down good. It was storm damage. It had to be done right away. He signed a proposal, and in other words, he didn't want me to finish the job. He got somebody could do it cheaper. So he never called me. He never canceled the contract.
Right.
He never did anything. And all at once now he wants me to negotiate. He wants me to work by an hourly rate, which there was nothing hourly. We have equipment that we can knock it out faster than a guy with a pickup truck and a chainsaw.
Right.
And he wants to make it hourly, and there was nothing hourly on the contract.
Right. Now you have a contract, and what we would do is you would testify to the judge, and you would say, Judge, okay, it's a $5,000 contract, but I'd have to pay my men and use my equipment. I think my cost would be $3,200, so I was expecting to make an $1,800 profit. And then the judge would say, well, this guy's entitled to $1,800.
Yeah, well, the thing of it is, in other words, it's a dangerous. He's trying to work like the wages down. We did all the dangerous part,
right?
And I gave him a price, not hourly. The dangerous tree, we did it, and
right.
It's done. If we got it done in 10 hours or 8 hours or whatever,
my friend, your profit might have been $4,000, but the judge can only award you your profit. In other words, what you would have made on the deal. So right. We'd have to figure out what your costs were. But go sue them.
Okay, I just never run into something like this.
Yeah.
It's really weird. I mean, you run into different stuff all the time being in business, but I thought it was a signed contract, and you can't. I didn't think you could change it.
Jim, you can't.
Binding contract to an hourly rate.
That's what I'm telling you. He can't do that. Go sue him.
Okay.
All right, I got to go break, my friend. 540-0580. I'll see you after the break. Hey, if you get a chance, go to weekendappointment.com, go to the Questions for Carl section, and I've posted R.J. Harris was on the other morning, of course, here on WHP 580, and he decided to do a Durgan impression. And in the course of doing the Durgan impression, he worked me into the show, apparently. And I was told about it, and I was able to find the podcast of it. So I've linked up to the podcast. So if you go to weekendappointment.com, go to the Questions for Carl section, and it's called R.J. Harris Comments on Carl's Show, and you can hear what R.J. has to say about the show. I think he's kind of busting on Durgan and me a little bit, so you might enjoy listening to that. And it's right at the very beginning of the podcast. So you just click. It says click here. It says, here's what R.J. said, click here. You wait about 15 seconds because that's the setup, and then he starts making fun of me. Earl, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger. Earl.
Oh, yes. I've got a question on traffic law.
Yeah.
Where I'm employed, my understanding is you can only work one long day a week, let's say 15 hours in one day.
Okay.
But then you can't work any other days that week over 12 hours.
Okay.
Now, the employer is telling you to work multiple long days. I'm wondering what the driver, how the driver is going to be prosecuted if he's caught doing that.
If you're a CDL driver, you have certain regulations you have to follow, right?
Right.
And the driver has the right to refuse to break the law. And theoretically, the employer can be punished for trying to get a CDL driver to break the law. That help?
My feeling is if I tell them my employer I'm not going to work a long day, he's going to get rid of me.
Right. And he's also going to force you to break the law, and at some point I guess you got to choose which one you're going to do. But I'm not sure what the remedy is, but I recall that there's something bad that happens to employers who try to force drivers to violate their CDL license. So, Earl, best I can tell you, if you want to post that online, I'll do a little more research on you on the exact remedy. And I understand your dilemma because I had somebody else post this week kind of a question along the lines of, I think my employer's violating certain labor standards, but I don't really want to be the guy that brings it up because I don't want to lose my job. I suggest an anonymous letter to Labor and Industry to that person if they really feel something wrong is going on, but they don't want it to be the one whose name is on the complaint, so to speak. And Earl, you might want to do something similar. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Good luck, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, post that online, and I'll see what the remedy for a CDL driver is. But I know a CDL driver has an obligation and the right to refuse to break the law, and there's a reason for that. It's called public safety. John, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger. John.
Did you say John, Carl?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for being there for us, Carl. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Real quick, there's two questions before my battery ends here. Son-in-law left daughter a year ago.
Okay.
My daughter's stay-at-home mom with 3 kids, no income other than him not paying child support. And not to be an ogre, but he had received about $25,000 to $30,000 from a death policy from his father. Is she entitled to any of that? And the second question is, she's being evicted because he never paid any property tax for the last 2 years, and they're going to sheriff's sale. She didn't know. And can they put her and 3 children out this time of year with no place to go? They don't live around here. They live in another county.
Okay. The sheriff's sale, yeah, I think that they can. There's no restriction on the time of the year for that. Okay. As for the benefits, those are a special kind of benefit that probably aren't marital property and probably aren't income for certain purposes. But if he owes back support already or hasn't been paying child support, the long and short of it is you may be able to have her capture some of that money on that basis. In other words, while that might not regularly be funds that would be distributable as income for purposes of support, they are actually probably for child support purposes capturable.
Okay.
All right?
All right. Yep. Okay, thanks, Carl.
All right, man. Good luck with her.
All right.
Brian. Bye. Well, let's see. Deadbeats. You got to go after them. Jim, you're on WHP 580 with attorney Carl Rominger.
Hi, Carl. This is Jim.
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, I enjoy listening to your show. It's very informative. I have a question. It's a property question about no trespassing.
Okay.
In front of my property, there is a right-of-way. Okay, it's a township right-of-way, and the pin for our properties is set back 25 foot off the center of the road. Okay. Now, my neighbor does not want me on her property, but there's a light pole that's like 4 inches on my side of her property. It's on my side, but I always mowed around that. Now she's getting real picky. She doesn't even want me to mow around it. But it's in the right-of-way, the township right-of-way, and her pin, is set back behind that, and she still insists that that's her property. Am I allowed to mow around that I know it's a picky thing, but
Well, and the big question is are you? How long you been mowing it for?
I've been mowing it for 18 years.
Yeah, you've probably been mowing it so long that you probably can keep mowing it, would be my guess. I don't think you own it by adverse possession.
Well, she doesn't own it either.
But right, and it's in the right-of-way, so, the answer the answer is somebody owns the land under the right-of-way. And
it's the township. Because I even pulled our deed out, and it says that our property, it starts from the 25-foot north. It starts north of the pin is set 25 foot north from the center of the road.
So you don't think you're on her land at all when you go around that?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, then she doesn't have what do we say? There's a I'm trying to come up with a nice way of saying it. A pot to do something in, right? But that's what she doesn't have standing. It's not her land. She can't complain. So basically, if she were to sue you, the judge would say, "Okay, show me where he's coming on your land." Now, if the township came to you and said, "We don't want you there on our piece of property," that'd be a different story. But they're probably just happy you're mowing around the light pole.
Yeah, sure. I mean, she's really picky, and I don't know. I don't want to go there, but
Usually, what we would do is send her a letter that says, "Dear ma'am, here's the situation. Here's why you have no claim. Go away, leave us alone. But if you really insist, sue us, and here's why we'll win."
Okay. So I should I have my attorney send her a letter.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to mow around that light pole.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right, my friend.
Right. Thanks, Carl.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, these land disputes and these little property lines really can become issues. 540-0580, 540-0580. That's the talk line number. For anybody just joining us, I'm Carl Rominger. I'm an attorney here in the Mid-State. And while I can be your attorney anytime during the week, here on Saturdays I come on the air for an hour to answer your questions. Gene, you're on WHP 580.
Oh, good afternoon, Carl. I have a question about Social Security.
Oh, okay.
You into this?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a try. If I don't know the answer, I'll tell you I don't know the answer.
Okay, well, I think maybe it might affect a lot of other people.
Okay.
I started taking Social Security this February when I was almost 64. And now when I signed up for spousal Social Security to begin in January,
Okay.
I learned that my taking it does not affect the amount that I will get from as a spouse.
Okay.
And that I could and should have been taking it from age 62. My question is, can I make that retroactive? 62.
I doubt it, but I don't know. What is Social Security telling you?
Well, this was on the phone with them.
Okay.
And they said they can only go back 3 months.
Right. I suspect that there's some, there's got to be finality to some things, and usually we have rules in almost any legal system. And when I'm talking about, when I say legal system, any like Social Security, different kinds of law, we usually have rules that say, you have to make certain claims within certain periods of time, and if you got the wrong benefit or could have gotten a different benefit, we can only go back so far. So probably whoever advised you initially didn't give you the best advice, and I don't think you can go back farther than that.
Well, then, as I've been reading more, I learned that when I signed up, my husband would have been eligible for receiving half of mine at the time.
Right.
Well, see, we weren't told any of this.
Right. You weren't told any of this.
Weren't told, and I had an accountant with me when I went in.
Oh, no.
So I don't understand why this couldn't be made retroactive.
Well, somebody would have to do a little research and see, but my suspicion is there's going to be a time limit on how far back you can go. And if somebody gave you bad advice and you're just discovering it, you might be able to go after their malpractice or errors and omissions insurance.
Well, this was all through the Social Security office.
Yeah, and again, they're the government, so they're immune from suit, so you're going to be limited. I got to go to break here, but my suspicion is if you sit down with an attorney in the office and do a little research, you're going to find out you can't go back very far. But it's worth pursuing.
Okay.
All right, and I guess that's a lesson for everybody else. Pay attention to those benefits and maybe get an independent analysis. 540-0580. See you after the break. Hey, welcome back. 540-0580. Carl Rominger here, answering your legal questions on the air. And tell you what, I'm sitting here in my base layer, getting ready to put my camouflage on as soon as possible because they changed the clocks back, which makes it hard to bow hunt after this show. But I got a stand picked out, put it there this afternoon. I'm ready to go, so hopefully we'll get one tonight. Mike, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger.
Hi, Carl. Thanks for taking my call. My question is regarding a joint credit card.
Okay.
I've been divorced now almost 3 years, and we had this card, and I'm not sure really what was put on it, as far as the items, but it was around $1,500. When we separated, the mailing address was changed to her location, her new location, and she's out of the country now. Well, last week, I get a postcard in my mailbox to contact the sheriff. Here, evidently, nothing was done with this credit card. There's no payments been made. I guess with interest now, it's up around, it's not a lot, maybe $1,800. I think it's $1,800 and change. And they're saying I'm being sued because my name was on the card. And, she's 4,000 miles away. So what are the repercussions there? Basically, they're saying to contact an attorney. I mean, I don't have any other credit cards, so I've never ran across this before.
They're suing you, and because your name was on the card, you're liable, because you were a joint account holder, you're liable for the balance. You can try to join her in the lawsuit, but you're what we call jointly and severally liable, meaning you're both responsible for the whole amount as far as the third-party credit card company's concerned. And they're going to pursue you for that amount, and you have the right of contribution from her, but of course she's probably judgment-proof because she's 4,000 miles away and probably not coming back, right?
Right. I mean, this is on me. Just with the circumstances being what they are, I know that's the bottom line.
When people bring those lawsuits into my office, usually we sit down, we figure out, do you realistically have the ability to pay it? If you got 10 of those lawsuits, maybe we go with a bankruptcy. If you've got one of them and you realistically can pay it, usually I get hold of the other attorney and I explain the situation and say, look, he doesn't want to pay the whole $1,500 plus interest, but he'll pay $1,200 lump sum, done deal, and settle it and be done.
Okay.
All right.
So I basically just get a hold of them through an attorney and make an offer or something.
Yeah. Yep, and we usually resolve them pretty quickly as long as you're willing to make a lump sum payment. If you can't make a lump sum payment, a lot of times we can put the suit on hold and put it on a monthly payment schedule until enough's been paid in, and then get the suit dismissed.
Okay. All right, great. Thanks for your help.
All right, Mike, good luck.
Thank you. Bye.
And throughout the week, if you want to get hold of me in my office, just go to weekendappointment.com. You'll find my phone number under the questions for Carl section. And you can call us in the office, and we'll meet with you. We have lawyers that handle all areas of law. And I've got two Georges on the phone. So when I say George, I know two of you guys are going to try to answer, but it's only one of you, so you'll figure it out here pretty quick. George, you're on WHP 580.
Yeah, hello, Carl.
Hey, what's going on?
I got a question for you. I periodically, and I'm sure you're familiar with them as well, go on eBay. And, of course, I think it's my understanding they also own the company called PayPal.
That's correct.
Which they use for, their quick payments and that type of thing. But my experience in the past, I didn't really like, PayPal. And, they never seemed to be forthright in questions if you ask them, what have you.
Right.
So anything I've ever purchased, I always prefer to do it, by check and try to correspond with the seller. But is there any, because I know they try or they have put it, on their site that, only PayPal accepted or something to that effect. Is that legal? Because I always thought that, there's some type of laws or whatever, like in the United States or even, statewide or so, that legal tender is, cash or check or something,
Yeah, and if you
American dollar.
If you look at their site real carefully, they will say that you PayPal only, but if you do an in-person pickup, cash or check is okay, is my understanding.
Okay, but can they really do that legally?
I think they can. I mean, it's a term of service that you agreed to when you join. In other words, when you register on the site and you agree to use it, so you and the seller are both registered users, you've agreed to things. And so, yeah, you can self-limit yourself. Yeah, trust me.
In other words, what one has to do is really contact a seller, themselves, and then just, deal there and say, we accept a check, and they say yes, and then, you handle it that way.
And of course, technically...
And they cannot do anything against you for doing that, can they?
Not to you, but they can tell the seller that they're not allowed to sell anymore because the seller's agreed not to have off-site communications with buyers or potential buyers.
Really? Because that seems like that's a practice that should...
Well, my friend, they just need competition. They need another big auction site to come up and kick them in the butt, and then they'll change the way they do things.
Yeah, but I just thought maybe there was some federal or even or state laws.
Well, yeah. I mean, people got to accept cash, except that if you agree to something ahead of time, you can modify it, George.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, my friend.
Thank you.
George, number 2.
George, that's me.
Yeah, you're on.
Okay. I'm in the process of selling my mother's farm.
Okay.
I have 9 sisters.
Okay.
I'm the executor, and my oldest sister is a co-executor.
Okay.
Well, the people who are buying it ran into a lot of problems with subdividing and with the township and the county, and everything's being delayed. And my sisters are upset with me because it's taken too long. So they want to remove me as the executor.
Okay.
So what would be the situation? Is that really legal, or can they do it?
Well, they can try. A court's going to take a look at why they're trying to remove you and if it's valid or not, or whether you've really just fallen prey to what we call market forces that are beyond your control. So you would be. I assume the estate has an attorney.
Yes. I have an attorney, but the two sisters or three that want to remove me don't have our attorney.
Right.
They're not involved with our attorney.
They have a different attorney.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they got an attorney. They're threatening to remove me, but
they got to have good cause to remove you. You got to have done something wrong. And if a property, like you say, I mean, you know, there's certain things that get held up, and that creates a problem. Now, you're also entitled to personal counsel, meaning that the estate has one lawyer, but you would have the right to have your own personal lawyer as well.
They would need an attorney, though, to do this.
Well, yeah, or they'd have to do it themselves. And, you know, my advice to them would be that's a tough road to hoe because there's a lot of specialized rules to try to remove somebody as an executor or executrix from an estate.
Well, who would make the legal determination on that if they tried it themselves?
The orphans court. They would have to file with the orphans court, and a judge would have to hold a hearing on it. That's the county court.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't really think they can do it, but
let them try, George. You can fend them off. And remember that you're entitled to your own attorney if you want, as well as the estate's attorney, because sometimes the estate's attorney might have a different duty to you as an executor than you as an individual heir or person who wants to be the executor. Okay?
Okay. All right.
All right. Good luck with it, George.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Don't forget, go to Mary, I'm sorry, I have to get you next week. Go to weekendappointment.com. We're giving away $400 worth of prizes. You just got to be a registered user there. Got to be a registered user by next week, or else you're not going to be able to get any of the prizes. So that's pretty much the way it works. And, of course, you can still get the free will there. So go to weekendappointment.com and contact me throughout the week at my office from there.